I don't know if you guys were here, but we were talking about words. We were talking about saying too much and saying it too often. And my kids started telling me that they were going to charge me every time I used them as an illustration in a sermon. And then my wife shot out something about $20 and she'd be rich. And before the morning was over, I think I owed her like $60. What's that? A new dress. Well, just because it worked there doesn't mean it works here. I'm your dad. I can do what I want to. All right. So I've got today's message, then I'm going to speak next week on this same topic. I just feel like God is doing a lot of work in us and work in me throughout these messages in this series called Sticks and Stones. And so this week, though, next week I'm going to talk to you about praying and speaking life and the truth, creating life in others. This week, though, I'm going to talk to you guys about the topic of speaking the truth in love, okay? Some of us are good at speaking the truth. Some of us are not so good at speaking it through the lens of love or speaking it through the filter of love. Listen to some of these statistics real quick, okay? We live in a world where people love to talk. Studies suggest that the average American adult speaks approximately 16,000 words per day. All right, that's as adults. I don't know how many words toddlers and young children make in a day, but I'm sure it's double, maybe triple that. I don't know. Biting the tongue to not use my kids as an illustration right now. Anyway, no, multiply that by a lifespan of 70 years. Okay, let's just say that you're a normal talking adult. You live 70 years for a total of nearly 409 million words. 409 million words. That's significant, isn't it? I mean, that's a big deal. It's a big deal to recognize that there are a lot of things we say. There are a lot of things that happen within the interactions. It could be at the store, it could be over the phone, and it's all these different places. But now we live in an age where our way of having conversations, our way of talking, has just exponentially increased because we're able to talk through the internet. With the development of social media, anywhere from Instagram to Facebook to Twitter to all these different things that are launching out there, it is happening so rapidly and so fast through text messaging. I mean, I have seen people that can like you send a message and within like 3 or 4 seconds, somebody has sent you a message back. And it is so astounding to me just how much can be said. Now, if we travel back to 2010, okay? That's 9 years ago. Just for the sake of understanding the reality, because I know it's way more than this now, but a study back in 2010 estimated worldwide some 294 billion emails are sent every single day. 294 billion emails. And the birth of social media has added to that constant stream of communication. Consider that Facebook averages 55 million what you call status updates daily, and Twitter 340 million tweets a day. All right? That is huge. That is huge. And so we've got to ask ourselves, like, what are we saying? What are we speaking? What are the words that are coming out of our mouth? What are the things that we're sharing? Whether the forum be face-to-face contact or the forum be through a social media environment or text messaging or whatever route it may travel, we need to understand that we are always, always, always in a process of conversation. In a process of conversation, like we talked about a couple of weeks ago. You might not say anything, but your face definitely is. How many of you guys been there before? Yes. Anyhow, Ephesians 4:14 and 15 says, we are no longer to be children tossed here and there by the waves and carried about by every wind of doctrine, by the trickery of men, by the craftiness and deceit of scheming, but speaking the truth in love, we are to grow up in all aspects into him who is the head, even Christ. We know that this is a miraculous work. We know that this is something that is always present, always moving in our lives. Okay, so if I were to say it this way, I'll tease this out a little bit and explain this, but love and truth are perfectly symbiotic. All right? Now think about this for a minute, okay? Let me explain this to you, because at first, I had read this, and I was like, what does that mean, symbiotic, okay? Basically, what's happening there, let me phrase it like this way. Basically, what's happening there is there's this movement and motion between truth and love as it collaborates or works together, develops one, develops the other. This is an involving interaction. If you take it on the organic level or organisms, it's a different organisms living in close physical association. All right, so they're feeding off each other, they're moving each other, they're doing things. This is like a beneficial experience. And so we know that if we're speaking of symbiotic in the area of relationships, we know that it's denoting a beneficial relationship between different people or people groups. And there's something that is happening. Something that is moving, something that is taking place, like this truth and love interacting with one another, making that truth more potent, making that truth more powerful. Nobody is very interested in the truth when it's spoken when it's spoken in an unkind way, when it's demeaning, when it's critical, when it breaks down people. And we know that when truth is spoken, there's power. But we've got to understand this too, okay? In all of this process, and I'm going to get to some important points in just a second here, but there is no neutrality in our words, all right? What we say is either true or false. Now, I know that there's some opinions, okay? Understand what I'm saying here. There are opinions about different things like media, like movies, music, stuff like that. But, and that becomes a reality for you personally. But you cannot say, okay, this is my opinion about a television show. I'm going to use the same idea there. That's true for me. That's what I see. I can't use that same idea when it comes to religion and faith. Either the Bible is true or it is not true. You can't take little pieces out of it. You can't take things out of it and just say, okay, well, I believe in this part and I believe in that part. Either you believe in the whole or you don't believe in it at all, okay? And I know there's some good advice written in the Bible that can apply to everyone, but seriously, like you have to be cognizant of the fact that when you read Scripture, when you engage in the Bible, there is something that should be profound that happens to you. There is no neutral ground. You're either speaking truth or you're not speaking truth. And that's hard for us to hear because there are a lot of things out there that are being told to us that are inaccurate, that are absolutely not true. Now, I went searching online and I found some such things, okay? Now, some of you might be kind of frustrated when you hear these things, but follow along with me, okay? Carrots cannot improve your vision. I know. Like, you've been telling your kids that for years. Some of you are like, liar. No, seriously, it's proven. They cannot improve your eyes. Toads, contrary to popular thought, toads do not give you warts. And going outside with wet hair will not make you sick. It may make you look like a mess, but it's not going to make you sick. All right? Another important truth. Some people say you only use about 10% of your brain. Not true, all right? Your brain is often engaged at all times, always, even when you're sleeping. Sugar makes you hyper. Shh, don't tell any of the younger kids, okay? Do not at all. I'm still kind of unsettled about this one. I don't know. I mean, it seems awfully closely connected to, like giving your child a certain thing, and you're like, what did you just consume? All right, here's another one. I can't blame it anymore, but coffee really doesn't stunt your growth. I'm short just because I'm short. Oh, here's a good one. I didn't tell my wife this. I'll have to tell her later, but Napoleon really wasn't short. She often tells us that our dog has Napoleon syndrome because he's so little, but if you look it up, Napoleon Bonaparte was only 5'2". That's both true and false, all right? Believe it or not, French inches were different, all right? They were longer than English inches. So he was really 5'7". Yeah, seriously, like liars. It's a conspiracy. I'm telling you. It's awful. All right? This has been proven in effect with me. Shaving your hair does not make it come back thicker. Doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. All right. All right. Another one I've heard is that toilets have the most germs on them. Okay? You ready to be disgusted? These right here have more germs on them than toilet seats. That's nasty. All right. All right, I'm going to stop right now because for some of you, I'm going to shatter your whole childhood. Because, according to my parents, I still have some gum that's existing within side of me right now that I swallowed. You ever hear that one? What is it, like 10 years or something like that? I don't know. Anyway, all right, so all that to say this, okay? Those are just some humorous things, but all that to say this. There are a lot of things that we've been told that are not true. There are a lot of things that have been said to us that are just not true. Things that we have believed, things that we've bought into, things that we have embraced that, no. Now, let me say it this way, okay? As we're talking about the symbiotic process of truth and love and how it all works together, let me say these things. Love without truth has no life, and truth without love has no power. Think about this for a minute, okay? Love without truth has no life. All right? Love without truth. Love without truth is vacant. There's something very, very shallow, very meaningless about it. It's surface. It's not something that is as significant and powerful. Love without truth has no life. It doesn't exist. It has no identity, it has no character. There's no spirit and soul existing with it. It just does not live. Love without truth is something that is shot out there, but it's something so not real, so not, it doesn't have any weight. It lacks. And truth without love has no power. And I understand this, speaking of the power of God, it definitely has power to affect others negatively, power to cause pain in people's lives, power to damage the soul of people around us. Yes, it has that kind of power, but I'm speaking of the power of grace and the power of the gospel. If you speak the truth without love, it loses, what we're sharing, what we're saying loses its potency. It loses its significance. It loses its significance. And so, when we share unloving things, horrible things happen. An anonymous author said it this way: a careless word may kindle strife. A cruel word may wreck a life. A better word may hate and a bitter word may hate and still. A brutal word may smite and kill. A gracious word may smooth the way. A joyous word may light the day. A timely word may lessen stress. A loving word may heal and bless. May heal and bless. There are significant and powerful things that happen with our words, but our words need to be spoken with certain and specific intent from a place of love. From a place of love. Just referencing Ephesians chapter 4, just pointing out a couple of the verses that are captured within the place where I'm drawing this text out of. Ephesians 4:2 says, be completely humble and gentle, be patient, bearing with one another in love. Make every effort to keep the unity of the Spirit through the bond of peace. Come on. If you're speaking the truth in love, that means that you're being humble. That means that you're being gentle and patient. All right, you're bearing with one another. You're experiencing together. You're carrying together that weight. And it's spurred on by love. Ephesians 4:14 through 16. Then you will no longer be infants, tossed back and forth by the waves and blown here and there by every wind of teaching and by the cunning and craftiness of people who in their deceitful scheming, speaking of the lies that the world will tell us and others will tell us. Instead, speaking the truth in love, we will grow to become in every respect the mature body of him who is the head, that is Christ. He is in control. He is in charge of this body, as the scripture tells us. From him, the whole body, joined and held together by every supporting ligament, grows and builds itself up in love as each part does its work. You see, Paul is taking on this idea of truth and love. Going to Ephesians 4:25 through 27. Therefore, each of us must put off falsehood and speak truthfully to our neighbor, for we are all members of one body. In your anger, do not sin. You're going to get angry, but in your anger, do not sin. Do not let the sun go down while you are still angry, and do not give the devil a foothold. Oh, one more. Ephesians 4:29. Do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths, but only what is helpful for building others up according to their needs, that it may benefit those who listen. That's that whole principle going back to that our tongues have the power of life and death. If we are going to speak things, we need to be compassionate. We need to be kind. We need to just share from that truth of the word, the truth of Jesus, the truth of who he is, and watch as it transforms lives. Not speaking unwholesomely, but speaking with hope, speaking what is helpful, what strengthens. Ephesians 4:32, be kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving each other, just as Christ forgave you. You see, love for the truth and for souls demands a response. Love for truth and for souls demand a response. You can't excuse speaking because you're like, oh, well, it's the loving thing to do to not say anything. We have this cultural idea that, if you love me, you're going to accept me as I am. I thank God every single day that my wife, she loved me and she accepted me, but she loved me too much to allow me to just be who I was all the time. She spoke honestly. She's been sincere, even when the words have been hard, to tell me how I can be a better husband and how I can be a better father and how I can be a better man and, yes, a better pastor. I know that she has spoken into my life because she has a love for me, and she has a love for the truth, and she has a love for my soul and other souls, that she recognized that it absolutely, totally, in every single way demands a response. It demands a response. It just does. And I'm going to make 2 points to you guys, and these 2 points are important, and I'm going to draw them right out of Ephesians 4:15 in the beginning of that verse. Speaking the truth in love, okay? Number one, we need to speak the truth. We need to speak the truth. That's a directive. That's a statement. That is saying, okay, you know the truth. You know the truth. You need to say something. You know the truth. You need to speak up. As we're gathered here as a church today, we are gathered as Christians, and we know that it is our calling to step out there and speak the truth about who Jesus is to those that we encounter, those who we are in life with, those who are, that are living next to us, that are working with us, all those different scenarios, all those different places. If we're told to speak truth, those things have got to be said. Yes, let your life be an example, but your words are not enough, or your life is not enough. You have to say things. You have to speak things. You have to be bold. Now, here's where sometimes it gets a little challenging and difficult, though, is that as we're doing life with Christians, as we're doing life together, as we're navigating through this walk that we call faith, sometimes you look at someone else and you think to yourself, oh, they are going to mess things up. They're about to make some bad decisions. Well, the scripture says, speak the truth. Yes, we'll get to speak in love, but we'll get to speak with love, but we need to speak the truth. You know the truth. God has delivered you from it. You've had experiences before where you're like, that's a bad idea. This is not good. This is not healthy. I experienced this and God rescued me from this, so I'm going to say something to them because I know that the road that they're traveling is going to lead to disaster. And you're like, oh boy, I know the truth. You see, when we've been told the truth, we are now held accountable to the truth that we now know. You can't just ignore it. You can't, to ignore it, that's willful ignorance. Like, forget, I heard that. Forget someone said that. I'm going to put that out of my mind because I don't want to be held accountable to that. No. When you know something, when the truth has been revealed to you, and sometimes it's time for you to speak up. It's time for you to say something. You got to speak the truth. Speaking the truth changes the trajectory of the lives of those around you. I can't tell you the amount of times that someone has spoken the truth to me and it has rescued me from a situation that I could have encountered right after that. Right after that. My wife has such an incredible, she has this radar. She has this ability to take notice of people, to take notice of situations, to take things. I mean, she can read people fast, and she can just come to me and she's like, honey, baby, you need to watch out for, and she'll tell me, like, you need to be careful. You need to be careful. I mean, going back to all the way to the days when I first started youth ministry at the young age of 21. And God's like, this is what I want you to do. So I stepped out into youth ministry. And we were doing youth ministry for about 4 weeks, maybe 5. And my wife came up to me and said, you need to watch out for that young lady over there. I was like, okay. She's like, just watch out for her. Don't be anywhere alone with her. And she told me outright, I don't worry about you. I worry about her. She's not, because she could see that this young lady was looking at me a specific way. She could see in the mannerisms, the specific things about her that made her, I don't want to say it rudely, but made her, promiscuous. She noticed that. She recognized that. And she's like, babe, don't be close to her because just don't. And I thank God for that because she has spoken to me honestly. She's been very sincere with me. And it's not always easy. I mean, just speaking of the marriage, the marriage itself, like in my wife and I's married relationship, there are moments where God has revealed something to me and I'm like, I got to say something. And this is hard to say something, but I've got to speak up because I know something. I've seen something in my wife where I've got to say, okay, I love you enough to say these words. And we're going to have encounters. We're going to have moments in our lives where we're around people, where we're around others, and we're gonna read across texts like this, and we're gonna say, okay, I've got to speak the truth. Yes, again, we need to speak it with love, but we've got to speak the truth. We've got to speak the truth. We've got to speak the truth. And a lot of us will encounter people, will come in contact with people that they just want to be accepted on their terms. They want to be accepted for who they are, but we can look at them and we know that, hey, look, I can see things in your life that need an adjustment or a shift, and everything will change. Everything will change. We need to speak. We need to speak with love. When we speak with love, it's not suggesting that we ignore error or blindly tolerate every wind of doctrine, as we just heard a minute ago. All right? Love does not, rejoice in unrighteousness, but rejoices with the truth. That's said in 1 Corinthians 13:6. All right? Our postmodern world wrongly equates love with tolerance of all beliefs and all actions. Speaking the truth with love is bathing the things that we say with love, but it's also, you've got to recognize that if you truly love people, you're going to say things. If you truly love someone, if you have a genuine care, If that person is important to you, if that person is special to you, if that person is valuable to you, if they mean something to you, you're going to say something. You're going to speak up. You're going to recognize that there's value in your words. You're going to recognize that because you love them, you're going to speak the truth in love. You're going to tell them, hey, look, you're erroneous in this way. Your life is erred in this way, and it's going to lead to a place that is disastrous. I'm watching. You have to come to this place where you're like, I love you too much to allow you to allow that bitter root to begin to grow inside of your heart. I'm going to point it out. I love you that much. I love you that much to tell you things that you need to hear. I love you that much that I'm going to tell you something, even when it is hard to say. Because the truth is that hard to say things, all right, when they're spoken in love, can result in serious life change. I can. When you say, I'm going to speak the truth in love, you are not saying, all right, I'm going to, like we were talking about last week, be quick to listen, slow to speak. That doesn't mean don't speak, all right? That means be slow to it. Be slow to it. Hold back a few minutes. Make sure you've got it all together. Make sure you understand everything. Make sure you know what you're going to say. Make sure. And just for reference, all right, text messages, emails, social media things, those things are often bad places to share truths that are important for others to hear because you can't look at them face to face. You can't see the expressions. You don't know what's going on in their mind. All you have is words. And I don't care how many emojis you use with smiley faces or whatever, all right? It doesn't matter. Some of you guys are like, what are emojis? I'm talking about the little happy, sad, angry faces that you send through text messages. Right. Like you could get a smiley face. You're like, is that like an actual smiley face? Is there a passive-aggressive smiley face? What are you trying to say? Are you trying to say that, I'm an idiot? Or are you trying to say, I hear you? All right, you can't do that. You can't do that. You've got to recognize that there are ways to speak the truth. There are ways that you say things, and they need to be said in love. You need to check your heart. You need to check your heart. You need to check where you are. You need to make sure that you understand what you're saying, and you need to understand that every word that you say is dripping wet and saturated with love because you love that person enough to say something, and you love that person enough to say that something kindly, compassionately, caringly. We will find ourselves in difficult situations when God tells us to speak up. But speaking the truth in love is a declaration that we won't give up. It is a declaration that we won't give up. I want you to think about this for a minute, okay? We're going to speak the truth. We're going to speak it in love. It's a declaration. Like, I'm not going to give up on you. I'm going to talk to you until your very last breath. I'm going to say what's important. I'm going to say what matters. I'm going to speak to you in ways that are necessary, that are absolutely critical, that matter. If we reference John 8:31 and 32 in the Message translation, it says this: Then Jesus turned to the Jews who had claimed to believe in him, and he said this: If you stick with this, living out what I tell you, you are my disciples for sure. Then you will experience for yourselves the truth, and the truth will free you. In other translations, it says, and you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. The truth will set you free. We must understand that we are truth sayers. We are truth speakers. We are ones who share what is true. And what we say is valuable. And it is God. If you say something that you consider to be valuable, but it's not said in love, it is going to create damage that may absolutely in every way ruin the very thing that you were saying. It may damage the effect. It may damage the potential, the power of your words. Speaking the truth in love is a declaration that we won't give up, that we won't give up. You've got to recognize. You've got to recognize that. 2 final questions. Just describe this. 2 final questions. Who needs to hear the truth in love, and what are you going to do about it? Who needs to hear the truth in love, and what are you going to do about it? It is going to lead you into some uncomfortable moments. It is going to challenge you spiritually. It's going to cause you to pray harder than you've ever prayed before. There are going to be moments where you feel tension like you never thought you would feel. Moments where you knew that it was going to come at a great cost. There are times in my life that I've said hard things to people, and those people that I said hard things to rejected me. But I want you to know this as well, though, that oftentimes I have watched many of those people who have rejected me come around and thank me for saying hard things. Thank me for telling them the truth. Thank me for speaking what was necessary for them to see the way in which they were going. Who needs to hear the truth in love? Who needs to hear the truth in love? Many of you guys need to hear it. Many of you guys are listening to this, and you're thinking of all kinds of people in your life who need to hear from you what you're thinking and what you need to say. But often, like when we do that, sometimes we don't look at ourselves. Some of you guys, as a result of the words that are being expressed today, you may hear something that is out of the truth and love, and you need to embrace that. You need to experience that. You need to listen, because you know that if that person is speaking with love, it matters. You matter. You are special. You are valued, because they thought it important enough to say something. When you share with others, even when it's hard and it's done in love, they're going to recognize, man, why did they have to say that? It stinks. I don't want to change that. I don't want to do something different here. I don't want to live this way. I don't like that. But you will begin to recognize, just maybe if they open their hearts and they open their eyes, they'll begin to recognize that you were saying something because you care deeply about them. Because you care deeply about them. Who needs to hear the truth in love? And what are you going to do about it? I'm putting responsibility on you guys. I'm telling you, you need to do something about it. I'm not telling you to go find flaws so that you can speak the truth in love. Don't misunderstand me, okay? Like, oh, pastor, man, he gave me something this morning, and start, nitpicking, all right? You remember the Bible says before you try to, pick the speck out of someone else's eye, the sawdust in somebody else's eye, remember you got a 2x4 hanging out of yours, okay? Like, before you start dealing with somebody else's eye, realize what's coming out of your own eye, okay? I mean, seriously, though, like, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? For some of you, that might cause an encounter where you begin to share more about who Jesus is with them. That's what this might mean. For others of you, this is going to mean that you go to somebody you love, somebody you care about deeply, and you're going to say hard things. You're going to say hard things because they matter, because they're special, because they're somebody that you deeply love. Why do I say hard things to you guys? Why do I stand up here and speak hard truths? Because I love you. I love you so dearly. And I see and I recognize and I notice what will happen in the lives of others when truth is spoken and they hear it. Sticks and stones, right? They may break my bones, but names will never hurt me. That's junk. We are so wounded at times. We are so wounded at times. And sometimes we can be so terrified that we're going to wound others that we keep to ourselves, but that's not what God wants. God wants you to pray intensely, search your heart, find somebody that you need to find, and just say something. I am the man that I am today because of the wife that I married. It'll be 18 years on the 4th of August. I'm the man I am today because I married her. I am, and I know that. And I know how this is going to sound because I always joke about it, but she's the woman she is because she married me. Don't laugh at me. No. I'm always poking fun at that, but seriously, like if she were standing up here right now, she would tell you the same thing. I am the man I am today. I'm the father I am today because my kids have told me things in love. They've been honest. And I know my children are going to be the people they're going to be because I spoke the truth in love. My hope and prayer is that God convicts your hearts and you go find the person that has been on your heart and you say something. Because we know that if we follow Jesus, if we follow his way, as it says in the Message translation in John 8:31 and 32, if you stick with this, living out what I tell you, the truth that I speak, what I say, you are my disciples, then you will experience for yourselves the truth, and the truth, and the truth will free you, and the truth will free you. You need freedom, and those around you need freedom. You are not in love. You are not absolved from this responsibility. You are not. Who do you need to talk to, and what do you need to say? Who do you need to talk to? Who needs to hear the truth in love, and what are you going to do about it? Father, I thank you for this morning. I thank you for truth. I thank you for affecting us in a significant way. I pray, God, right now that the truth that was shared in love this morning, God, that it would affect the lives of those in this room. And Lord, not just their lives, but as they step out of their comfort zones, as they step out of areas that are easy and more convenient and start to work in the lives of others, that something significant would happen. That they would watch that as they speak the truth because they have to. If they speak the truth in love, the lives of those around them will change. Lord, that just maybe sharing what is true and sharing what needs to be shared could change the future of those around us. Those who are our friends. Those who are our friends. Those who are in our church. Those who are a part of our family. God, that we would be bold enough to say what is true. That we would recognize that responsibility. And God, right now, I ask that you would break our heart. That you would break our hearts for what breaks yours. That every word would come from a heart that is full of love.